The sandstorm howled outside the alien outpost, hiding the sun and covering everything in dust. The sky was not dark because of night. It was dark because something was wrong. Inside the metal walls of Outpost Theta 9, 20 alien soldiers stood. In a circle, their weapons were aimed at the center. In the middle stood a human girl, small, silent, barefoot. Her name was Alara. She did not cry. She did not scream. She just looked at them. The leader of the alien unit, Commander Vorsk, stepped forward. He was 7 feet tall, his body made of thick armor and muscle. His skin was like cracked stone, his eyes burning like coals. "She is afraid," he said to his team. "No," whispered one of the younger soldiers. "She isn't." Ilara's eyes were calm, too calm. She had no armor, no weapons. She had been caught wandering near a forbidden zone, alone. The aliens thought it would be easy, but something about her felt wrong. "Scan her," Vorsk ordered. One of the tech soldiers moved forward with a device. As soon as he came close, the scanner sparked and shut off. "It's fried," he said. "That's impossible." It melted. A strange silence fell over the room. The soldiers adjusted their grips on their weapons. Then Alara looked up. It was only for a second, but her eyes glowing faintly, like dying stars, met the commander's. He stepped back without knowing why. "What are you?" he hissed. She said nothing. The temperature dropped. The soldiers began to see their breath. One of them started to shake. "Sir," he said, "it's cold in here." "Too cold." "There's no reason for that," said the medic. "We're in a sealed room, climate controlled." Then it happened. A soldier screamed and dropped his weapon. He grabbed his helmet and fell to the ground, writhing like something was inside his head. "Elkar!" Someone shouted, running to help. But Elkar was gone. His body was still, eyes wide, no wound, no sound, just a blank open stare. "Hold your positions," Vorsk shouted. "She's doing something." Alara still hadn't moved. Her arms were by her side, her face calm, her lips sealed. She blinked slowly. That was all. "Commander," the medic said, voice shaking. There's something inside her. Energy readings are climbing. She's human." Vorsk growled. "There is no power like that in their species." "Then she's not just human," the medic whispered. The lights flickered. In the corner of the room, a glass panel cracked. Then, without warning, every weapon in the room shut down. The red lights on their armor faded to black. Dead silence. Ilara raised her head again. Her eyes were glowing more now. "Not like stars, like memories." Vorsk growled and stepped closer. "Enough games. Tell me what you are." Ilara finally spoke. Her voice was soft, almost kind. "You're not ready." Everyone froze. The floor beneath them began to hum. A low, deep vibration, like something ancient was waking up beneath their feet. The youngest soldier looked around in panic. "Do you hear that? What is it?" Vorsk asked. The medic stared at his tablet, pale. "It's a heartbeat." "Whose?" He looked up. "The planet's." Vorsk's hand shook for the first time in his life. "I said, what are you?" He roared. Ilara looked at him with sad eyes. Then she whispered, "A warning." Before anyone could move, her eyes flashed pure white. The air exploded outward like a wave, knocking every soldier to the ground. Lights shattered. Screens turned to static. When they opened their eyes, she was gone. But something else was awake now. The base began to shake. Outside, in the desert, the ash stopped falling, and a voice whispered through the storm, "The first lock has been broken." The desert was quiet now. The sandstorm had stopped. No wind, no ash. Just silence. But inside the alien outpost, nothing felt safe. The soldiers were still shaken. Not because Alara had escaped, but because they had no idea how she escaped. One moment she was there. The next, she was gone. No doors opened, no windows shattered. Just gone. Commander Vorsk stood in the center of the room. His body was tense. The air still felt heavy, like the oxygen was too thick, like something was watching them from inside the walls. "Seal the exits," he said. "No one leaves this base. Not until we understand what just happened." The soldiers nodded, but their eyes showed fear. That night, the real terror began. Hours later, Soldier Kren lay in his bed. The lights were off. His armor was in the corner, still dead. His eyes stared at the ceiling. He couldn't sleep. He kept hearing things. At first, he thought it was the wind, but there was no wind. Then he heard it again. A whisper. So quiet, it was almost nothing. But it was her voice. It said his name, Kren. He jumped up, heart racing. Room was empty. He reached for his communicator. Dead. No signal. He stepped into the hallway and found 3 other soldiers standing there. All of them pale, all of them wide-eyed. "You heard her too?" one asked. They nodded. The whispers came again. More voices now. Not just Elora's, other humans. Male, female, young, old. All speaking in different languages, but somehow they understood every word. "She is awake. She remembers. You broke the seal." The hallway lights flickered. Then every screen on the wall turned on. By themselves. One message appeared across them all. "Do not sleep." Command Room. Commander Vorsk watched the footage again and again. He had Alara on every camera until the moment she vanished. There was no trick, no teleportation. Just one flash of light. Then nothing. "Sir," a tech officer said, "there's something else. We found this on the comm logs." She played a short sound file. It was only 4 seconds long. A deep hum. Then a voice. "You have touched what was forbidden." Vorsk's jaw tightened. "Where is this signal coming from?" "Everywhere," the tech whispered. "It's in our walls. It's in the ground." Infirmary soldier Theron had been placed under observation. He was the only one who touched Alara's blood before the lab equipment exploded. He hadn't spoken since. But tonight, he stood up. He walked to the window and pressed his hand against the glass. A nurse watched, confused. "Theron?" she asked. "Are you all right?" He smiled, but it wasn't his smile. He turned slowly, eyes glowing faint white. Then he spoke, not in his voice, but in a human child's voice. "She is only the door." The nurse screamed. Main hall, all soldiers were now gathered. Vorsk stood at the center. "Something is attacking us," he said. "Not with weapons, but with fear, illusion, whispers." "This is not illusion," a soldier replied. "We all saw the sky change. We all heard the voices." One of the screens suddenly lit up. A map of the galaxy. Stars began to disappear, one by one. Red markers showed locations where communication was lost. Planets were going dark. "Explain this," Vorsk demanded. The tech officer shook his head. "I can't. These are entire star systems." More whispers echoed through the base. This time, every soldier heard them. "You remember her as a girl, but she is not. You saw fear in her eyes, but it was mercy. The second seal is ready." Ilara's cell, empty, back in the room. Where Alara had been kept, something moved, not a person, just shadows. They flowed like smoke across the walls, forming shapes. Symbols began to carve themselves into the floor, glowing faintly. No one was there to see it, but the entire base felt it. A sudden pulse. Boom, boom, a heartbeat. Commander Vorsk's Driam Vorsk finally closed his eyes that night, and instantly, he was somewhere else. A red sky, mountains made of bones. And a giant door standing in the sand, covered in the same symbols from Alara's blood. It opened. He stepped through. He saw a war. Fire across the stars. Alien ships burning. Beings of light and shadow tearing reality apart. Then, he saw Earth. But it wasn't Earth as he knew it. It was covered in gold towers. Floating cities, creatures of light walking side by side with humans. Then, darkness fell. A voice behind him said, "We tried to protect them." Vorsk turned and saw Alara, but she wasn't a girl now. She was glowing, larger than life, with stars swirling in her hair. "You broke the chain," she said. "Let it return." Vorsk screamed. He woke up in cold sweat. It was morning, and outside, the sun was black. The black sun hung in the sky. It gave no heat, no light, just a soft humming sound that only the aliens could hear. It was like a song, but the kind that made your bones feel cold. Inside the base, everyone was awake. No one had slept well. No one spoke much, because something strange had started happening. They were all having the same memories. Commander Vorsk's confusion. Commander Vorsk sat in his dark office, hands trembling. He had woken from another strange dream, but it didn't feel like a dream. It felt real. He remembered running across a burning planet, holding a weapon he had never seen before. He saw alien cities fall from the sky. He saw humans weak or afraid, but glowing, powerful, terrifying. He remembered losing, but that war never happened. It wasn't in their history. It wasn't in their records. He never fought such a war. Then why did he remember every second of it? Across the base, every soldier began to feel the same thing. They remembered standing in fields of fire. They remembered screaming. They remembered a voice. Elora's voice, speaking in a language they didn't know, but somehow understood. One soldier punched the wall. "These memories aren't mine." Another dropped to his knees, eyes wide. "I saw my own death," he whispered, "and I saw her standing above me. She didn't kill me. She just watched me die." In the lab, a group of alien scientists had recovered a blood sample from the spot where Ilara once stood. They placed it under a microscope. The blood cells moved, not like normal cells. They moved with purpose. Then something appeared on their lab screen. Letters, symbols moving fast, like a code writing itself. The system translated the message into the alien language. "You buried the truth. Now it returns. Your empire stands on broken lies. She is not the first." The lead scientist backed away, breathing fast. "She's a memory, walking. New discovery." The artifact. The youngest soldier, Kren, was walking past one of the lower halls when something caught his eye. A small glowing stone was floating in the air. He had never seen it before. He called for backup. The tech crew scanned it. "It's old," one said. "How old?" Vorsk asked. "Older than your empire." Vorsk stepped forward and stared at the artifact. Suddenly, the symbols on the stone burned bright, and in his mind, he heard a scream. Not in his ears. In his soul. Then silence. When he opened his eyes, he was back in the memory. But this time, he was standing in front of an army, and Alara was leading the humans. Her hair floated like fire. Her skin glowed like gold. And her eyes were galaxies. He remembered losing, not once, but thousands of times. The secret file back in his quarters. Vorsk unlocked his private data. There was one file marked Black Star that only the highest commanders were allowed to open. He had never read it before. He did now. Inside were records from 10,000 years ago. Reports of a human-like enemy that destroyed fleets across 5 systems. An order was given. Erase all records. Destroy all witnesses. Seal the war under myth. The final line: if she returns, do not fight, do not speak, do not look, run. Vorsk stared at the words. So it was true. Their empire had lied. They hadn't won the first war. They had hidden it. Whispers grow louder across the base. The whispers returned. This time, they were no longer soft. They echoed like drums in the skull. "You, built on ash, you ruled a grave. She is only the door." One soldier shot himself. Another ran into the desert, never to return. The medic began carving the same symbols into the walls with his claws. No one stopped him. The return of Elara just as the whispers reached their loudest point. The lights died. The base shut down. Every machine silent. Then a glow appeared in the center of the control room. It grew. Shape formed. And Elara stepped out of the light. No longer weak. No longer silent. She hovered above the ground. Her eyes white with energy. Her body glowing like a forgotten sun. The soldiers froze. Vorsk raised his arm, but his weapon turned to dust. Elara looked around the room. Then spoke. Her voice echoed in every mind. You remember now. Good, because I remember everything. Final scene. As the soldiers stared in silence, the map of the galaxy appeared behind her, this time full of red cracks, not from attack. From within. The Empire was breaking. The memory of what they did, the war they buried, was waking up inside. Every soldier, every citizen, every leader. They could not stop it. Elara floated higher. She pointed to the stars. And softly said, the third seal opens next. The lights flickered. Elara stood above the floor, glowing faint white. Her hair floated like it was underwater. She didn't speak again. She didn't need to. The soldiers were frozen more from the memories in their minds than from fear. Commander. Vorsk tried to move. He couldn't. It felt like gravity itself was holding him down. The air buzzed with power. It wasn't loud, it was deep. Like the hum of something very old waking up for the first time in forever. Then Elara vanished. Not in a flash, not in a burst. She just faded. Gone. The blood sample in the lab, deep under the base. 3 alien scientists stared at the blood sample they had taken from the spot where Elara once stood. It was still alive. Not just cells moving, not just energy shifting. The blood was writing. Across every screen, symbols appeared. Strange shapes, circles, stars, lines, then words translating in the alien language. At first, it looked like nonsense, but then the words became clear. You killed your gods, and from their death you made empires. But gods do not stay dead. Uncovering the DNA message, one of the scientists, Dre, ran a deeper scan. Something was hidden in Elara's DNA, something folded in a way that should have been impossible. It wasn't just genes, it was code. An actual message, buried in her cells. With shaking fingers, Dre decoded it. The translation appeared on the screen. I am the echo of the first war. I hold the memories of what was done. I am the voice of the sealed. I carry the truth in my blood. I am not alone, he gasped. It's a living archive. His assistant whispered, her body is a library? No, Dre said. It's a warning system. A hidden history, Dre. Search deeper. Elara's blood held images. Not just data, memories. Scenes of battle, armies falling, worlds burning. And in all of them, figures that looked human, but were far more. They controlled light, moved space, spoke across time. One of them wore armor made of suns. Another walked barefoot in the vacuum of space. And all of them died. But before the last one fell, she placed a hand on Earth. And whispered something into the soil. Dre translated it. Let them forget us, but let them carry us. Chaos in the base. While the scientists studied, the rest of the base fell apart. Soldiers began seeing things. Not just memories, visions. They looked at each other and saw shadows behind their friends. Faces. Some claimed to hear their ancestors calling. One soldier walked into the engine room and screamed, I saw my past life and she was her. Others started drawing the same symbols from Elara's blood on the walls, the floors, even on their own armor. Vorsk tried to stop it. He failed. Nothing made sense anymore. Emergency transmission. Communication tower powered on by itself. A message went out, not sent by any alien hand. It was a warning, but not for the aliens. It was for Earth. In the human language, spoken in Elara's voice. I have awakened, and I am not the only one. Your time is near. Prepare the old blood. Then static. The text tried to trace the signal. It didn't go to Earth. It went beyond the edge of known space. To a place marked on no map. Place the aliens once called the grave of the forgotten. The final scan in the lab. Dre ran one last scan on the blood. It zoomed into a single cell. Inside that single cell, another galaxy was mapped. Not imagined. Not drawn. Mapped. A real place. With real coordinates. He stared at it. I don't believe this. The galaxy inside her cell matched the oldest record in alien history. A place they thought was in YTH, a place where the first war ended. A place where the last god fell. They had buried that memory. Now it was alive again, inside her. Final scene. Dre rushed into the command room. Commander, we need to evacuate. Why? Vorsk asked. Dre's voice cracked. Because she's not just a signal, she's a key. A key to what? Dre slowly turned his screen around. The translation was simple, just 6 words. The third seal. We'll break here. Everyone stared. Then the ground trembled. Once. Twice. Then the sky above the base began to burn, not with fire, but with symbols. The same symbols found in her blood, and across the galaxy. Ancient doors began to glow. Not one, thousands. The sky was on fire, but not with flames. Symbols huge, golden, moving like rivers, flowed across the black sky above the alien outpost. No one could read them, but everyone understood what they meant. Something old was waking up, and it would not sleep again. The walk into silence. Elora stood outside the base. Her feet were bare, touching the dry earth. Every step she took left behind glowing mark symbols that faded slowly, like whispers in dust. She didn't rush. She didn't run. She simply walked. The sand moved out of her way. The wind stood still. The moons dimmed. Even the light seemed afraid to touch her. The soldiers didn't try to stop her this time. They only watched. She passed the first guard post. The gate slid open on its own. No one touched it. Inside the base, Commander Vorsk stared at the symbol on the map. It was the same symbol from her blood, the one glowing in the sky. He looked at the scientist. Dre, you said she's a key, Vorsk growled. Then what is she unlocking? Dre swallowed hard. A prison. For who? Dre looked pale. Not who, what? Every planet feels it across the galaxy. Something strange was happening. On planet Zelkar, a mountain split in two, revealing a massive black door no one had ever seen before. On the icy moon of Tarlis, an ocean boiled, and glowing figures rose from beneath the waves. On a lost human colony, a child looked to the sky and whispered, "She's here." Across all systems, humans and aliens alike woke up screaming from the same dream. A door opening, a name spoken, and stars weeping. Alara reaches the Kori. Lara stopped in the center of the old ruins near the base. An area no alien dared enter. It was dead land. Or so they thought. She knelt down and placed her hand on the ground. The earth cracked. A beam of light shot upward into the sky, pure white, shaking the clouds, reaching into orbit. Alarms screamed across the base. Dre stared at the readings. This energy spike, it's impossible. Commander Vorsk turned. What is it? She just woke up something under the surface. Something that was sleeping for thousands of years. An ancient reactor awakens deep beneath the planet's crust. A machine older than history powered on. It wasn't built. It wasn't forged. It was grown from light, stone, and memory. It pulsed with life, and it remembered Alara, the same way a lock remembers its key. The voice returns in the minds of every living being near the planet. A voice spoke. It didn't sound angry. It sounded ancient. You erased us. You buried the truth. You wore our skins and called yourselves kings, but you are only children playing in ruins. The sky split open, not from attack. From arrival. Something falls from the sky. A dark shape appeared above the atmosphere. At first, it looked like a ship. But it wasn't. It was a piece of broken part of something much bigger. It glowed with the same energy as ELARA. As it fell. The stars behind it bent. Time itself slowed. When it touched the ground. There was no explosion. Only silence. And then a heartbeat. Deep. Old. Alive. The ground pulsed. Across the galaxy. Machines stopped. The stars dimmed. The third seal had broken. Back in the control room, Vorsk was frozen. He could not look away from the screen. Readings showed that the laws of physics around the planet were changing. Gravity shifted. Time slowed. Energy bent. Dre whispered, "This is what came before science, before language. She's not just a key, she's the first." Ilara transforms outside. Ilara lifted into the air. Her body glowed brighter. Her eyes turning into two white stars. She opened her hands, and light poured from her palms. Symbols wrapped around her arms like chains, breaking apart. The soldiers watching dropped to their knees, not in pain, but in awe. She spoke only one word: begin. And the planet answered. Final scene. Towers rose from the sand, not made of metal, made of memory, solid echoes of the ancient world. The skies turned gold. Birds appeared that had been extinct for thousands of years. The planet was changing, returning. Ilara floated above the ground, eyes now glowing with galaxies. And in her mind, a voice answered back, "One of us is awake. The rest will follow." The sky still burned with strange symbols. The planet below was no longer the dusty desert they had known. It was alive, changing, breathing. But far away, in a massive starship, something stirred. The arrival of General Krav. General Krav entered the command room. His armor was worn and scarred. His eyes held centuries of pain and memory. He had survived the first war, the war the Empire had erased, the war they all pretended never happened. Recognition. Krav looked at the hologram of the planet. He said quietly, "She has returned." Commander Vorsk turned. "Who? Ilara?" Krav nodded. "Not just Ilara, the power inside her. The memory she carries." He walked to the table and laid down an ancient relic. It was a sword, broken, but glowing faintly. This was taken from the battlefield 10,000 years ago. The forgotten Warkrav told the story. The Empire had fought a great enemy, the humans. But these humans were unlike any seen before. They were not weak, they were gods. They wielded power beyond imagination. The Empire was defeated. Destroyed. Their fleets burned, their planets fell. The price of victory. The Empire had hidden this truth. They erased history, killed survivors, banned all knowledge of the war. But some remembered. Krav was one. He had seen Ilara before then, a legend, now a living threat. A warning. Krav turned to Vorsk. "Do not fight her. She is not your enemy. She is the key." Vorsk was confused. Krav explained, "Ilara is not just a human. She carries the power of those who came before. If you attack her, you doom us all." The rising threat outside. The planet's changes accelerated. The air shimmered. Animals long extinct appeared. The ground pulsed with energy. The alien soldiers began to feel it in their bones. Ilara's voice suddenly, her voice echoed through the base. "We tried to protect what was lost. We tried to hide the past. But it is time. The awakening has begun." Final. Sennachev looked at the stars. They feared the awakening, but they brought it upon themselves. He clenched his fist. "The Empire will fall, and we will watch." The stars above the planet twinkled, but not as before. They were dim, flickering like candles about to go out. The galaxy felt different. Quiet, but full of tension. The awakening begins deep beneath the surface of the planet. Ancient machines stirred. They were not just machines. They were prisons. Inside them, beings older than time itself were waking. The forgotten. They were called the forgotten. Once gods. Once rulers. Once destroyers. Now trapped in silence. For thousands of years, they waited. And now, Ilara's awakening broke their chains. Ilara's Messiah Ella stood on the highest tower of the new city, rising from the sands. Her eyes shone like stars. Her voice rang clear all around. We do not seek war, but we seek truth. The forgotten will return, and with them, the balance will shift. The alien soldiers fear. The alien soldiers looked at the sky. Their weapons felt useless. The symbols above were growing stronger. They knew they could not stop. What was coming? A new ally from the shadows. A figure approached. A human. Not like any they had seen. Older. Wiser. His eyes held the same light as Ilara's. He spoke. I was once forgotten, but I remember. The warning. He told them stories. Of the first war. Of how the forgotten fell. Of how the empire was born from ashes. And how the forgotten's return could mean destruction or salvation. The choice. Ilara listened. She turned to the soldiers. We must choose. Will you fight against the past? Or will you stand with us? The storm gathers outside. The skies darkened. Lightning crackled. The ground trembled. The forgotten were stirring. The galaxy was holding its breath. Final. Ilara raised her hand. The symbols in the sky pulsed. A doorway opened above the city. From it, light poured down. The forgotten were coming home, and nothing would ever be the same. The sky above the city was torn open. From the doorway of light, shapes began to fall slowly, gently, like feathers made of stars. But these were not ships. They were beings, tall, glowing, ancient. The forgotten had returned. The galaxy reacts across. The galaxy, panic spread. On alien worlds, empires collapsed overnight. Weapons turned to dust. Artificial suns blinked out. And in every corner of space, one message echoed in every mind, in every tongue. The first ones walk again. Some ran, some knelt, but none fought. They all knew it was too late. Ilara's last message. Ilara stood beneath the doorway of light. Behind her, the new city glowed with life. Towers groaned from memory. Streets filled with light. She raised her voice. Not loud, but strong enough to reach every living thing. We were never gone. We were only sleeping. You feared the wrong thing. Not fear, not war. Truth. General Krav's final. Stanro Krav stood before the city gates. He didn't draw a weapon. He didn't raise a shield. He simply watched. I lived long enough to see this again. He whispered. He turned to Vorsk. Tell the others, the war is not coming. It's already over. The forgotten speak. The beings of light stepped onto the soil of the living. They didn't attack. They didn't burn. They remembered. And their memories became reality. Old places returned. Old stars reappeared. Lost species were reborn from light. And in every place Ilara had walked, life bloomed. Earth respawns on Earth. Humans looked to the skies, and they heard Ilara's voice, not from machines. Not from speakers. But inside their hearts. Awaken. And the humans began to remember too. Some faintly, some fully. Dreams returned. Strength returned. The ancient light passed through them like warm fire. The age of forgetting was over. The fall of the empire, the alien empire that ruled for 10,000 years crumbled. Not from war. From truth. Records came back. Lies were exposed. And with no one left to believe them, their power vanished. Ilara's final step. She looked up at the sky, at the stars that once watched her fall. She smiled, then walked into the doorway of light. The sky closed behind her, but the symbols remained, floating softly above the city. 1 year later, the planet had changed. A place of peace. Now. No weapons. No armies. Just memory. Just awakening. In deep under the ground. The ancient machines finally powered down. Their task was complete. Final. Seen a human child walked through the glowing valley. She stopped, looked up. And saw 2 stars where none should be. She smiled, then whispered, "Thank you." Ilara. A faint voice, soft as wind, answered, remember us. Then silence. And light, the last light.